Weighed in on valuations, but before that, in a speech, he spoke about everything from interest rates to inflation and growth, but he gave no hint on the next rate cut, and that perhaps was a bit of a disappointment for the street. He said that the central bank needs to balance inflation concerns with weakening job market, and if you've listened to any central bank governor across the world, this is effectively central bank governor speak. He's not said anything different than what they say on an ongoing basis. He says that the current interest rates are still high enough to lean against inflation pressure. But he's also said that equity prices are fairly highly valued. Listen in.
Is it fair to say that the Fed and the markets really have a higher tolerance for risk today, more so than perhaps before the pandemic?
I think if you look at some prices, then they're elevated relative to historical levels. There were times before the pandemic when it happens periodically. Equity prices will move up and down, and we do monitor that. But we're not targeting any level of prices for particular financial assets. We don't have a view that we know what the right price of any particular financial asset is. We do look at overall financial conditions, and we ask ourselves whether our policies are affecting financial conditions in a way that is what we're trying to achieve. But you're right. It by many measures, for example, equity prices are fairly highly valued.
Okay, and we'll come to what happened with the U.S. market shortly, but there was also an update on U.S. business activity, which slowed for a second straight month in September. S&P Global's U.S. Composite PMI Output Index fell to 53.6 from 54.6 in August. Any reading above 50 indicates an expansion, so it's still expanding, but slower than before. Now, talking about Wall Street, it slid from record highs. The Dow as well as the S&P 500 dropping 0.2% and 0.6% respectively, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ dropping nearly 1% on profit-taking. Recent updates had pushed up the prices of stocks like NVIDIA as well as Oracle. That large acquisition by NVIDIA had pushed the prices up significantly. Oracle, you know what's happened in the recent past with regard to its cloud computing business. And shares of Oracle dropped as much as 4.4%. NVIDIA dropped as much as 2.8%. A few interesting moves on the Treasury yields as well. They've fallen 3 basis points on the long end. And what is happening is a bull flattening. And that means that the long end of the yield curve is falling faster than the short end of the yield curve, and it's flattening out. Why is that? It's because demand for short-term paper continues to remain high. There's far more issuance by the Fed at the shorter end of the spectrum, and the